When we hear the word prison, most of us immediately think of hardened criminals. But here's a truth we don't often talk about. Not everyone in prison is a criminal. Some are innocent, some are victims of injustice, and some are there because of circumstances beyond their control. Today, I want to share why we should be cautious not to judge too quickly, and provide you with real-life stories that illustrate this truth. Prison is meant for those who break the law, but history shows that innocent people often end up behind bars because of false accusations, wrongful convictions, corrupt systems, lack of proper legal defense, unjust political persecution. The Bible itself reminds us of this reality. Joseph, the son of Jacob, was imprisoned in Egypt, though he committed no crime. Jesus himself was arrested and executed, though he was innocent. 1. Joseph in the Bible, Genesis 39-41. Joseph refused to sin with Potiphar's wife, yet she falsely accused him. He was thrown into prison. But even in prison, Joseph stayed faithful, and eventually he became a ruler in Egypt. This story shows us that not everyone in prison deserves to be there. 2. Nelson Mandela, South Africa. Mandela spent 27 years in prison, not because he was a criminal, but because he opposed apartheid and fought for justice. His imprisonment was a political act, and yet he emerged as a leader who transformed a nation. 3. The Central Park Five, United States. In 1989, 5 young men were wrongly accused of a crime they did not commit. They spent years in prison before being proven innocent. Their case shows how bias and a rush to judgment can destroy lives. 4. Paul and Silas, Acts 16. Paul and Silas were beaten and jailed, not for wrongdoing, but for preaching the gospel. Yet in the midnight hour, they sang hymns, and God miraculously opened the prison doors. Their story reminds us that sometimes being in prison has nothing to do with crime, but with purpose. Why this matters: compassion over judgment. We should avoid labeling everyone in prison as bad. Some are victims of injustice. Rehabilitation versus condemnation. Even those who made mistakes deserve a second chance. Condemnation doesn't heal, but restoration can transform lives. A call to justice. Supporting fair legal systems, standing against corruption, and speaking up for the voiceless helps reduce wrongful imprisonment. Practical example. Imagine being falsely accused of theft at work. Without money for a good lawyer, you could easily be convicted and jailed, not because you're guilty, but because the system failed you. So, the next time you hear someone has been to prison, pause before you judge. Remember Joseph, remember Mandela, remember the Central Park Five. Remember Paul and Silas. Not everyone in prison is a criminal. Some are heroes, some are victims, and some are simply human beings who made one mistake but deserve redemption. Call to action. Instead of condemning, let's show compassion. Support prison ministry, pray for the wrongly accused, and help former inmates rebuild their lives. Because true freedom isn't just about leaving prison, it's about giving people dignity and hope.